And when you say scriptural teaching, you're specifically talking about the 4 Vedas?
Yeah, the 4 Vedas are not for us grown-ups to we mean more Vedanta. Vedanta means the end part of Vedas. Vedas, 4 Vedas are there. 4 Vedas have 4 different categories, subdivisions. Mantras, Aryanakas, Brahmanas, Mantras, Aryanakas, and Upanishad.
As in within each of them?
Yeah, within each of them. So Rig Ved would have Mantras, Brahmanas, Aryanakas, and Upanishad. Similarly, all the 4. So the last part of the Vedas, which is Upanishad, is what scholars and philosophers study. It takes you closer to God, and the realization of Brahman is the goal. The realization of God is the goal. So the Upanishads became my more subject of study, and eventually Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is an extract of the Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita is a later composition, and it's an extract of all the Upanishadic philosophy, the right things required for the world. So
can I just pause you there for
yes.
We had someone called Miss Rupa Bhati on the show, and she's
nice.
someone who does extremely deep research on the astronomy side of the Vedas. And astronomy is a tool that one can use to date things as well.
Yes.
So a big part of her research is dating the Mahabharata and the Ramayana.
Yeah.
But she's also focused on the Rig Veda heavily. And she said that according to her work, and she spent 30 years doing this. And I know when someone is talking rubbish in front of me on this show versus when someone is like speaking gospel.
Generally it sparks out.
And she was at the end of that spectrum of speaking the truth. I sat with her for almost like 5 hours. She spoke about how the Rig Veda is possibly, according to the astronomy within it, perhaps 220,000 years old.
Imagine.
220,000.
Amazing, yeah.
And for context, the Ramayana is roughly taking place at 12,000 BC.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can draw out that line that goes from 2024 back to
amazing
12,000 BC, that's the Ramayana. Mm-hmm. And 220,000 years is the Vedas. Mm-hmm. And it's possibly why people say that, Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma is the oldest surviving.
Yes, it is. It is undoubtedly it is, because any discovery that is coming across from the Western world, it's already there. It's already there, So there isn't anything in the world is talking about and it's not mentioned here. From, micro level. Upanga is in Vedas. You have the Vastu Shastra, you have the Ayurveda, you have elements and everything in detail. You tell me which other culture talks about the exact temperature of the sun or the exact diameter of a particular planet, or how it's perfectly orbiting in the galaxy, in the solar galaxy. Who could have said so many years back without having a telescope or any kind of an internet facility or any kind of a laboratory? Internalizing everything, the experiences to the minutest detail, it's unimaginable. There can't be anything older. There can be no school of thought older than this. Definitely.
It's teaching you about the universe so that you're able to leave.
Yeah.
That's the goal, that leave this universe that we're in.
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Yes, it's fair to say.
Or oversimplified?
No, it's not. Very direct and crisp.
Okay. Let's expand on that Vedas section that we were talking.
Yes.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, not at all.
But you were talking about the 4 Vedas and then the Vedic studies.
Yes.
Right?
The journey, from healing to coming into the Vedic roots is what I would like to, elaborate more upon. And what's the difference? Empaths, for instance, counselors, empaths and healers, we are very heart-oriented. We're very heart-oriented. And there's a lot of emotive dominance, compassion, and work happens through the heart and with intention and with love. And often it's a need inside. Like we said in the beginning, it's like the more you heal others, the more you are healed. You may know it or you may not know it. For instance, I didn't know it, but it happened. And it took me closer to my roots, and it took me closer to what we really call evolution. Vedanta says that when you're evolving and when you're coming into the realm of self-inquiry and knowing your true self, there is divinizing of the intellect that has to happen. What does one mean by divinizing of intellect? It means that we normally function with a very limited intellect. What intellect is there with you? You function within those corridors, within those boundaries. But when you are studying Vedanta and you come into self-inquiry, and when I say self-inquiry, I mean truly understanding what is God, truly understanding what is Brahman, Paramatma, and the Jiva, and the cause of suffering, and the illusion, and the work of Maya. When you understand all of these things through the study of Vedanta, you're actually divinizing your intellect. Divinizing intellect means removing the false parameters of the intellect and merging it with the cosmic intelligence. Our intellect can be aligned and can completely come in streamline with the cosmic intelligence.
Can you expand on that false part of the intellect?
Yeah, the IQ, what we say IQ is a measurement of your processing capacity, your brain's processing capacity, and this is always limited because it's limited to your body. You're only considering the gross aspect of your intellect. Whereas intellect is one of the major tools, as said in the Vedanta. Buddhi is the highest, which means that a common person would think, especially those who are in spiritual realms, they would think that, oh no, heart is the main thing and not the buddhi. So what common people talk about buddhi is a very limited buddhi. It's a very limited intellect they are talking about that works only with logic and memory. We have something in Vedanta, we say we have something called antakaran. Antakaran means man, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. Mind, intellect, memory and ego. These four are working in us constantly. All your experiences are generated by these four. What you perceive, what you understand, what you think, what you do. Sequence of how I understand what I'm hearing, and then how I'm replying to what I have understood, and then, the doing bit. So the antakaran is working. Now, in the antakaran, mind is a very, very, it's an infinite machine and it's grasping all the time. It's, mind is a thought processing machine. Intellect is the actual processing what is happening and which gives you the commands to do what you want to do. So your actual understanding is happening with the intellect. Memory is all your unconscious, past life memories, traumas, and all of that you have accumulated, which becomes your conditioning. Why you think the way you're thinking about a particular issue depends on what's in your unconscious. That's how you think of all the past experiences of your life. And then ego, which is a major instrument of Maya. It's stiff all the time and I know what I am saying. It's the I, the false I that it holds on to. So out of these four, it's the buddhi or the intellect, which is actually the culprit if we do things wrong or right, which is actually the doer. So if this intellect is functioning only in the limited parameters of who you think you are of this life, then it's going to tap on only into limited intelligence, which is your IQ, nothing more than that. But if this intellect gets divinized, with sadhana it gets divinized. For instance, when you meditate, you're surrendering. What are you surrendering? You're surrendering your antakaran. When you sit and meditate and you're stilling yourself, you're actually surrendering your antakaran. What happens in that moment when you surrender your antakaran? You get streamlined with the intelligence of the universe and your buddhi gets divinized. We call it Vivek Buddhi.
It's like that tuning fork of the same frequency.
Yes, resonance. It's like entrancement. We call it entrancement. And your buddhi starts penetrating the buddhi of the universe, so to say, God's intelligence. And as you grow as a Vedantin, they're very logical. They're not like healers. They're not like over empathic and over compassionate. They can see a person dying and yet not do anything about it, Whereas a common man would think he is a very heartless person. How can he see someone dying? But a Vedantin is very balanced, non-oscillating. He's very balanced, he's non-oscillating, and he's streamlined with the divine intelligence. He'll do what God wants him to do. So, with the study of Vedanta, a person gets aligned perfectly with the cosmos and Brahman. He's sthit in Brahman.
With the study of Vedanta or with practice?
Both. Vedanta is not just a book or it's not just a theory. If it's only theoretical, then you're just intellectually grazing into it. it has to be supported by all the yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, all the ashtanga of the so-called yogic philosophy. It has to apply even in Vedanta. Vedanta primarily but is focused on self-inquiry. That means inquiry into the truth and inquiry into the nature of Brahman and know what is God. But none of the Vedantins just take it to the intellectual level. They all support it with a little bit of bhakti yoga and a little bit of karma yoga. Everybody does that.
What does the little bit of karma yoga entail?
Karma yoga, where is the need for one to do karma yoga? Karma yoga is basically you surrender every act that you do to God. That is, in short, what is karma yoga. But it's very difficult for common people. How can you, for instance, we're doing this podcast now, and you, as a surrender, as a service to God, consciously we cannot think when we are in the work, in the doing mode. But so that needs to be cultivated. So the need for karma yoga comes because we have jnana indriyas, we have the nervous system, organs of action. They say that, all yogis say, rishis say, that if your organs of action are not put into utility, then they will drag you into unnecessary wastage of time. Just like we say it for children. If you don't keep the child occupied, then he becomes a devil, at home, destruction. You keep him positively occupied. So it is with our karma indriyas and jnana indriyas. Both these senses and organs of action should be put into positive use. So we utilize them in our sadhana. That's why we do mantra japa, we do pranayam, we do some walk, and we, the regular swadhyaya reading is there, and service to God. So we are using all our organs of action to clean the idol of God, or to do worship, or to do the arti, or where is the need for all this? For instance, we do homa every day. We do havan every day in our temple. One of my students asked me, Ma, why do you do the havan every day? I said, ye nahi karenge to kya karenge? It's like you keep your organs of action and your intellect and your time and your energy engrossed in the service of God. This is only an expression of love for God. It's not some kind of a magic that we're doing. Yes, it has many other, advantages, that there is havan samagri. It's creating a lot of positive vibrations. The mantra ahutis are going inside. There's a lot of cosmic reverence that comes. All of that is there. But the basic need to do the rituals and worship every day, or any activity, is to keep your karma indriyas and jnana indriyas occupied. Otherwise, a sadhu would become a vela.
If you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out these curated playlists that we've made especially for you, related to the subject that was spoken about in this clip.